Check.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry. All right. Almont Downtown Development Meeting, January 5th, 2023, 7:06 p.m. We're going to call the meeting to order. Any deletions or any additions or deletions to the agenda, Angela?
So I have some additions. We got some invoices yesterday, today that I do want to add. That way we can make sure we can get people paid here timely. Do you want me to list them?
Yes, or unless we don't have a list of everybody, right?
So we have a Village of Almont invoice for $1,077.45, another Village of Almont invoice for $473.59, another Village of Almont invoice for $1,539.40, an invoice for Todd's Glass and Mirrors for $230. This is not so much an invoice, but Sunset Boulevard that we have hired to play at Heritage Fest, we need to send them a deposit of $1,250. So I'd like to get that approved. And then this is not an invoice, but I want to add to the agenda to approve a quote to get a new laptop for the DDA. It's over what we had discussed before, so we need approval on this little bit higher amount.
How much is that?
It's $1,124.49.
But 144 of it is the Microsoft 365 subscription.
That's the
So
software.
it comes in under a grand technically, but
Right.
So we already approved the laptop. We have to buy the subscription with it. Is that right?
It's
Yeah,
your
we-
software.
Or are we just, do you want us, being we're already approved up to 1,000 on the laptop, do we just need to approve the,
That would be
yeah,
fine.
the extra.
why don't we do the,
Okay.
because we already approved the 1,000.
Mhm.
Let's change it to whatever you need
Okay.
in the license.
It's $144 for the license.
Okay. And dumb question, we are not considered a nonprofit, are we? We're not a nonprofit, are we? We're just a government entity? Okay, just wondering. I learned at a meeting on Monday, nonprofits get 10 Microsoft licenses to use, so just double checking.
They have to be a 501c3.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We're not. I just want to
Yeah.
double check.
Yeah.
There was some, I just learned about loans can be reclassified as another title the other day, so.
The Historical Society is a 501c3 though, so I don't know.
So they could. Okay. All right, so what's the total then that you need in extras on top of?
For invoices?
Yeah.
Bills to be paid? Well, hold on, I have to add them up real quick for you. $3,320.44. Nope, sorry.
No, I'm
I
gonna say,
didn't
wait a
add the
minute.
deposit for Sunset
I'm
Boulevard.
like, that seems,
$4,570.44. Sorry.
so everybody record that for when we get to bills payable. All right, any other agendas or additions or deletions to the agenda? Jeez,
That's
oh
all I
Pete,
have.
it's snowing out. All right, let's move ahead. Communications, you want to go over what we had?
Yeah, so I had two communications. We are going to have our annual joint meeting with the Village Council and the Planning Commission on February 21st at 7:30, and we are all invited and encouraged to attend this collaborative meeting, if everyone can make it, or some of you have to be here anyways. And then we have a communication from Laura Tandy from LDC. She emailed and she said, Holly and I just finished up balancing her spreadsheet to QuickBooks. I've entered all the transactions. And Angela has the finances for both November and December. I just wanted you guys to know that in the year and a half I have been doing this for Almont, this was the smoothest it's ever gone. I'm absolutely thrilled that Holly is taking over, even if it is temporary. I don't know what magic Holly worked, but it was minutes and the phone, and then she did her magic, and then we had them the next day. So, thankfully, Laura also worked over her normal schedule, and she got them in so that we could approve them, which is amazing. And I think we're like completely balanced now. We're like down to this 1 cent.
We're off 5 cents, which
We're-
she said we have been off since the beginning of time. And when I have a minute, I'll figure it out.
So we're off 5 cents. We're close. Closer than we've been. I know, I'll chip in.
All right. Well, that is long strides for where we were months ago, years ago. So thank for everybody to be involved, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Any public comments on agenda items? Public? No. You guys awake out there? All right, just checking. Can we get we're going to need approval of consent agenda? Right? Or no?
So moved.
Approval of minutes from the December 21, 2022 special meeting.
To approve.
Support.
Viewed. Fine.
Steve made the motion. Paul, you backed it up.
Support.
Any further comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. All right, approval of bills payable, and there is a lengthy list here, plus the 457044 that got added to that. So if anybody has any questions to everything that's here, can you expound on the 3 bills that went to the village?
The ones I added?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just so people know what that is.
Sure thing. So one of them is for policing for the holiday parade. That is 1,000, a little over 1,000 of it. One is for DPW equipment and labor in December. One is DDA wages, and that's it.
And Todd's glass, is that for
That's for the historical
the
society
historical building? So that is done.
That
Okay.
was done on the 16th, and they are thrilled, and painting is scheduled for April. So
Right. So if anybody wants to look through there, any questions or anything on any of the bills, we can go over them.
So I am sincerely concerned about the $12,545 snow plowing bill for the month of December.
What was that just from the bill? Was that strictly just for December plowing? Was that also any other time frame?
Trying to find it.
Is that
I
in,
don't know why.
was that included in the packet?
That was including before.
it was 3
they
things
found
in
invoice.
November, I believe.
December.
Somehow it didn't end up in there, but I do have it. So hang on.
And let me just clarify, a few meetings back, we had Krista take over doing the bills. She ran into some scheduling conflicts. Holly ended up jumping in, helping out too. So if you see it before, one started it, now we have somebody else working through it, just so everybody understands that. So appreciate you both ladies working through everything.
So this is partly November. So they salted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in November. No, I'm sorry. 3 times. 3 times in the parking lots and 2 times on the sidewalks. We have a November past due charge, which if yard services recalls, there's no way we could have paid our bills because we didn't have our checkbook. So I think that's a little beyond. And then there are salting charges for December 17th for the sidewalks and the parking lots. A half charge for salting the parking lots on the 18th. Salting the sidewalks on the 18th. Plowing on the 23rd. Salting on the 23rd. Plowing on the 24th. Salting on the 24th. There's a couple charges for salting on the 24th. Moving 2 loads of snow. Plowing on the 26th and salting on the 26th. Did you make copies, Angel? Thank
Yeah,
you.
these are
So
the
we're
ones
I
I
didn't
got
see.
stuck in the copier the other day. It was-
Thank you. I was gonna say, the only snow I recall is when they have it here, back right around Christmas.
Yes, so we have snow plowing on the 23rd, 24th, and 26th, and moving of 2 loads of snow. I don't think it snowed that much in December where snow had to be hauled away.
There was a lot of snow. The gates were closed
I mean, I went out, yeah, I was just saying,
There was that lot of snow for the 24th.
that was the day it was pretty windy, right? Because we were supposed to go to Frankenmuth, and it wasn't a snow issue, it was more of a ice and blowing everything around issue that we found, right? Not that it didn't snow,
I
but
did walk through town and on the east side, like sidewalks were covered. On the west side, not so much because everything was flowing. And the ladies at the post office grass, and that's what shovels there. They shoveled back, we said 3 or 4 times. So that was on the east side.
which is the direction the wind was going.
I tried to go to the big day.
Okay. So I guess the question is, you have concerns with the total bill, right? Is there a way for us to verify against
So I
other
did.
means?
Kim and I sat down and we did go over the dates, and those. I can't speak to the amount that was done, but I can speak to those are days that DPW also went out and salted and or plowed or both. So,
Okay.
I mean, I obviously don't know what would necessitate, like, the only way we can verify is that DPW also went out. So, the only thing that would concern me is if there was more than one in a 24-hour period, which would be not per the contract. But
Snow started 23rd or 24th.
we went through the list and we were pretty. I can verify the 23rd, double check it, but
Yeah, I mean, if I just want to make sure everybody feels we're getting what we paid for correctly. And then the late charge was on this bill, or or a
It's
different
about
bill?
No, it's on this bill. 1, 2, 6
November.
item down, it's $30.
But that
Yeah.
was back from November. We didn't
We
have
didn't have a
access to our
checkbook.
checkbook, so we could approve it minus that we don't agree with the late fee. At this point in time, I mean, we got to get the bills paid, so it depends on what people feel. We could just keep an eye on it with everything that's going on. If you did your due diligence, found out at the same time that they went out,
I can double check the
There's not much.
23rd. I don't recall off the top of my head, but we went through the list. And I don't know how you measure how much. Like I would have no idea how much snow is a load to move. So I don't know how you would.
So much.
I know, but they're saying move 2 loads. I couldn't quantify that to say that. So I don't know how. Maybe
Well, and that's the complexities we have. We, by going this direction, we could not include that into what got moved off with the DPW or can take care of. So at this point in time, I mean, I think we just watch them carefully. But that's up to the board on what they feel they want to do. But I mean, my 2 cents is for sure. I mean, we're not paying a late bill when our checkbook was held hostage. You couldn't even write them a check. So.
And the obvious problem with this is we've got a signed contract, and unless you can factually dispute
Right.
this didn't happen, that didn't happen, and how do you define that? And that becomes very, very difficult. So in a sense, we're kind of like a sitting duck in that respect.
Right.
They put it down on paper, and how do we dispute it?
Right.
So it's I think we're kind of stuck. And if somebody wants to make a motion excluding the November billing past due thing, doesn't sound unreasonable.
About the concerns, any thoughts you have on looking at more accountability with it?
I guess I'd really have to dig into that contract. I don't know exactly how our contract reads. And then I guess my concern is going to be this month's bill, because we already know that they did something they were asked not to do today. So they were specifically asked not to plow until it stopped snowing. They called to ask what we wanted, and Angela told them, please do not plow until it stops snowing or the morning. Well, when I drove through town at about 5 o'clock today, they were out there plowing and shoveling. So I'm sure we're going to get billed. And they asked what we wanted, and we specifically stated what we wanted, and they agreed to it.
What you just indicated should be documented.
Yep.
And sent to Yard.
Yeah. As we discussed
So,
earlier,
yeah.
if that's the case, then let's
Right.
document it.
Because we have to create factual
Correct.
dispute in order
Correct.
to. So rather than just waiting for the next billing, we'll let them know right now that we believe that they essentially breached the contract.
You have a record of your time on the phone? Yeah. Okay. So at this point in time, we're going to need either to approve the bill or not approve the bill. If that's up to the board's wishes.
And from the discussion, it would be approval with an exception,
Correct.
essentially.
Correct.
I'll make a motion to approve it without the past due payments.
Do I have a second? I'll ask one more time. Do I have a second?
Yes. Somebody wants to say anything.
It's up to you. I mean, you can
Yeah,
just say, I don't
I'm-
want
I'm-
to second it.
Yeah, diving into the because this is politics essentially.
Politics,
is
and it's
what we're dealing
politics
with
for
here.
$30.
And yeah, do I mind ducking bullets? Yeah, no, I'll second it.
Okay. All right. Motion made by Krista to approve the bill minus the late fee. Seconded by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Pay the bill. Minus the $30. All right. We still need an approval on the whole thing, on all of our bills payable. So let's go back to that. That was just one part of that. I lost all my pages. All right, so going back to the rest of the bills payable, can we get a motion on those if anybody has no further questions on them?
I'll make a motion to pay the rest of the bills.
I get a second?
Support.
All right, Holly made the motion, seconded by Krista. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes. All right, let's move to the next one, treasurer's report. Do we have to do this month by month by month? Can we do them all at once? There's a long list there.
I don't think it would be unacceptable to simply approve the treasurer's report. Ordinarily, you want to vote on each item, but it's all presented as essentially one document, treasurer's report.
Correct.
So I think it would
'Cause
not.
we're gonna need separate for the balance sheet and P&Ls, right?
Yeah.
So why don't we just go through those first? If we get approval, starting off with the November balance sheet, and maybe can you talk to the ins and outs of everything that's kind of went on with LDC through this? Just because, we're going through November, December, everything.
Right. So when I spoke to Laura, the concern was really what she needed from us was our check register with the checks that were written costed to the appropriate accounts. She sent me a list of our accounts. I went through the checks that were written and the invoices that went with them and costed them out for her and sent it over to her for November, December, and what we have so far of January. As of Monday, I believe. Yeah, it was Monday. We balanced within 5 cents with LDC. So.
And in working with LDC before on some of the issues, one of the point of contention was the fact that they were not getting costed out correctly or at all to our line items. And again, that has been a point of contention now for a few years, especially over the last year. So that has all been updated and corrected. That way, with a further discussion we have later on going forward, all of our ducks are now in a row, as they say. All right, so I'm going to need, if people have looked through this, okayed everything, I'm going to need approval for the November balance sheet.
So moved.
All right, Steve, can I get a second?
Support.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's move down the list.
Let me just interject here. Since we're dealing with finances and just to make sure we don't have future glitches, I received, I think, a call or email from Angela, whether I would be available to sign checks, and checks were supposed to be brought to my office to be signed by me because I was the only signatory at that point in time, and no checks were ever brought to me. So I don't want that to be not noticed and just buried underneath. There was something that was supposed to be done and it wasn't. So we should just be aware of that, and that was a glitch, and hopefully we won't run into that sort of thing again. But that did happen, and that put us behind the bills, which we could have fully executed because I was a signatory and paid some of these bills that are behind. And so that was disappointing.
So, and as of right now, just to make sure you are a signer, correct? Krista, you're a signer? Okay. All right, I just want to make sure all
No.
that's been done and corrected. Okay.
It's crucial, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
100%. And we'll talk through the complexities before we get to Kim on why we're moving everything over with where we were, where we've been, and where we're going. I'll kind of touch on that so that way the public is clear of kind of where we're at. But yeah, good point. So going to that, we need a approval of the November profit and loss.
I'll make a motion to approve November profit and loss budget.
Support. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, passes. All right, moving to November's profit and loss.
I'll make a motion to approve November profit and loss.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that one passes. December check register.
I'll make a motion to approve the December check register.
Second. And by Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, all right. December balance sheet.
Motion to approve the December balance sheet.
Support.
All in favor? Opposed? All right. December profit and loss budget.
Motion to approve the December profit and loss budget.
Second.
Support.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Final one, December profit and loss.
Motion to approve the December profit and loss.
Support.
Support. Ooh, you guys are fighting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. All right, that one passes. Thank you all. Director's report for January of this year.
I don't know if we need to go through this line by line.
No, you can just do a
I wrote a
summary.
lot.
Everybody's got it to read, so.
The light posts are wrapping up. We're almost to the end of all of the people who purchased them being picked up. The last couple of people have scheduled times next week, so that will be good. We just talked about Heritage Festival. The Historical Society window is repaired. Painting is on the books. I can't convey Jim Wade's excitement to have us sharing his stuff. He actively sharing his things. And on that note, I have heard, well, you were there, Nick talked about from County Press how active we've been. When I spoke to Nancy Boxey last week, she said she's noticed the uptick in our activity and she's really excited for it. So even if people aren't, interacting, they are seeing it on, Facebook, Instagram. So it's exciting. Good Grounds was interviewed by Nick, and they were really excited to be featured in the county press. And that was kind of just coincidental. He was asking about the building, and I was like, well, let me text them and see if they can meet you there. And they met him there for the interview. Oh, I forgot to bring the paper in. I have it. Remind me before we leave. So that was exciting. I gave them the business welcome packet to just look over and tell me what they liked and what they didn't, and if they found it helpful, what they would add. So just to get their feedback. Our laptop is officially hooked up to the village server, and then we got the quote for the new laptop today. I've started the website update. It's in process. It's going to take a little bit to go through all the pages and update all the information. My number one goal is obviously compliancy and make sure we have everything on the website that we're legally required to have. So I think I almost have everything except maybe one or two contracts that still need to be added, but then we should be good. And we were good on that. What else? Oh, I put together some onboarding binders for board members. Some of you probably don't need it because you've served on boards for a long time, but just helpful, not meant to be overwhelming. It has our bylaws. It has OMA handbook. It has our plan that was presented in 2015. I don't know, helpful stuff.
Down in my waiting room in my office. People come in, so gets a little bit of
light reading.
exposure.
All right. I started on a Legends map. It's a first draft printed off of my printer, so don't judge it too harshly. Just I don't know, to start something, see what the feedback was. I went to Village Council and Historical Society meetings this month. Spoke with Nancy Boxey at length, and she gave me a lot of great advice. I attended the roundtable with Andy and Holly, and that was incredible. I'm super excited about the networking and the potential with Main Street, maybe. I think that would be just an incredible opportunity for our community. And I think that's about it. There was a couple of things that are on the agenda for discussion that we can discuss when we get there.
Couple of points I want to touch on upon your director's report. The biggest one and the key one for compliance and legal is the fact that the DDA has not been on a secure server or a backed up server since we've been operating, right? That is huge in case we ever get sued and something should happen to all of our past documents. So that was a huge catch that Angela made within the first 3 days of kind of taking over the role, just by asking questions. So, I mean, we're here to protect, our taxpayers' interest, and by not having that protected is a huge vulnerability. So I appreciate you looking into that. The second part is I want to touch upon is, and I don't think maybe I missed it, but I don't think you had that in here. The LDC invited us to a kind of a meeting together. Myself, Holly, and Angela went. It was very eye-opening. It was very informative. I think we learned a ton from that. We learned that there's a huge burnout rate to DDA directors. We learned, and they said numerous times, that for years and years they've been pushing the former director and other people that this should have been a full-time position. They again agreed to supply us with a salary survey, which Kim, you already got from me last year when I started looking into this. Going back to the Main Street program, we were kind of told before it was what, too expensive, too hard?
Too hard. I kept pushing for it. And
Yeah.
Everybody said too hard.
Too hard, too expensive. Come to find out, it's no cost. Okay, the only cost to it is we have to have a full-time director. There's no cost to participate in Main Street. Now, is there work involved? Yeah. So that's where we got to go to really wrap our hands around, are we a working board or are we just a governing board? So it is going to take work from board participants to do the Main Street program. But to hear the amount of money that you're able to get just in Lapeer and the other communities alone was huge. So is it going to take effort? Yes. If we elect to go full-time with the position, that's already covering the supposed cost. And that's something we need to do. So I think my 2 cents after listening to that, hearing what they were saying, it's something we should really, I think, look into and take a serious look at. So that's going to be a future agenda for another meeting. The person from the Main Street program, I forget her name. Huh? Lee. Again, huge wealth of information. She's willing to come to a meeting, talk more in depth with it, talk more of what's involved from getting, board members on board and what they have to do. But other than it sounds like a bunch of meetings, that's really about it.
And she literally said, we're invested in you getting through it. We will help you every step of the way. It is going to take commitment on our part because they're putting their name behind us. And the opportunities that could come from that are incredible. So
We're involved with it when Nancy was director.
So we were actually part of it and then fell away from it, or?
I thought there was something incremental to the program, and
yeah,
we
there's
were like,
stages.
yeah,
Yep.
right. We were like at first stage, I think,
Okay.
as far as we got, and then
Okay.
we kind of fell off the map
Okay.
with it. So, but Nancy at least had some familiarity with it to get involved. So,
But I think she was able to gather a lot more resources, at least where to go through, who to go through between the LDC, the Main Street program, and what was the other one? Oh, Michigan Downtown Association. So, and I asked the question, where do you go for what? So I think between the three of them, they'll be key in helping her. And we're already paying for all this anyway. I mean, for the other memberships, she already can go to some of the meetings and symposiums and everything. So I think they're vested to make sure that the turnover rate stays low anyway. All right.
I was also, this isn't necessarily, I was invited last Monday night by, Nancy came to the school board meeting and she invited us to the Lapeer County Community Foundation like cocktail hour they're having. I think you.
I got an invite
too.
at my office. So.
So I am gonna go to that. If anyone wants to go, I'll probably be doing both like school and this, but if anyone wants to go, it would be a great
Last
learning
one
and networking.
was November, I think, here in Almont, and it was very well attended. They're pretty successful and useful, especially for networking purposes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was at the Bells. So, Mr. Novak made some money, but what the heck?
Well, good. Well, anyway, I just want to make comments on that because to me, that one was really key in protecting a lot of what we're doing. So thank you. All right. New business. The first one is the agreement between the council and the DDA for financials. Facts, the village has offered to bring our financials in-house, and we have given this memo to begin the discussion of the process and procedures so both sides are protected in order to formally and officially begin the transaction. You're going to come up and talk to it, Kim, right? Before we do that, I kind of want to go backwards and kind of go why'd we get to this point, right? So a little over a year ago, really about a year ago, our former treasurer and DDA director came to us and said, hey, guess what? We're $10,500 over on funds. At the time, we asked them to look into what the issue was and do we have extra money to spend and what's going on. In that January meeting, they came back to let us know that they worked with LDC and figured out it was just some old line items that didn't get transferred from the village. It was a couple small items. It was just years and years and years of kind of a little here, a little there. But they said it was rectified. We were not over by $10,500. We took that at face value and kind of went on from there. Earlier this year, it would have been September or October after the DDA director left, and I got involved with the LDC with everything that's going on. They cued me into the fact that that overage wasn't from some small little items, and it wasn't from stuff from years ago. It was the fact that our treasurer here was not keeping track of any of our interest on our accounts for the last 4 years. Plus one item that was missed for a little over $2,000. Sadly, that's obviously a problem, right? That started with not just this treasurer, the treasurer before that. So in looking into that, and we've shared plenty of emails, I was very transparent, not just with this board, I was transparent with the village council board, everybody, village manager Trent was involved. We got involved with King and King to find out what they had. Come to find out they were not getting all the proper financial information. Matter of fact, they were getting an Excel spreadsheet that didn't have any of the interest from what we earned over the years included. The LDC was balancing their books correctly because they were taking our bank statements. Those bank statements were passed on to King and King to do our audits. They basically circumvented the fact that we were not balancing correctly. There's been many of emails back and forth that I have seen with LDC and our former treasurer where they're constantly looking for items that were out and missing dollar amounts. And our DDA director was then tasked to go and look for this information. The problem is if you read our bylaws, our DDA director has no financial fiduciary authority for any of our finances. They don't. They're not even on the bank account. That's done by purpose. Our treasurer, per opposite of what comments we heard, has full fiduciary authority of the financials, which is more than just writing checks. And if you read our bylaws, it clearly states that it is to, yes, write the daily checks, but it's also to do our budgeting. It's to do our P&L statements, work with the company that we're doing it to make sure we're in balance and make sure all that is taken care of. Sadly, that was not done. We never got a rationale why when, it was going to be discussed at a meeting to figure out, hey, where we're at, what's going on. That person just resigned. Later, they came to a village council meeting stating that it was nothing more than a error in the system between Excel to QuickBooks. But we all know, and we've all seen through many emails, it was just human error, right? And human error happens, and we all make mistakes. The biggest thing is owning those mistakes. But unfortunately, coming to our board to tell us one thing, coming to a village council board to say another thing, they didn't even match what the answers were. That's a problem. The other problem is these videos that are now on video, or these meetings that are now on video, have not been occurring for the last couple of years until September of this year. October of this year, I'm losing track, where we didn't get to see those comments being made in that January meeting. If you go back and look at our meeting minutes to what was discovered of the $10,500, there's nothing in the meeting minutes to discuss that. And that's a problem, right? So a few meetings back, we took away the rights of the DDA director to do the minutes and pass them on to somebody else. So that way there's more complexity and transparency in what we're doing. So we're now at a point now that we finally have the financials back. Chris offered to work through them. Holly's worked through them. We're now in budget. But this is something we can't have happen again. Talking with LDC, they're willing to do our books, but at a cost. And this is where the village comes into play, and we can partner together and kind of talk through everything. But the biggest thing that I'm going to say this as board members is we all have fiduciary standard for our taxpayer dollars, right? And we all are here to hold everybody accountable. If you are treasurer, you have the highest, most fiduciary duty and make sure that is done. So we're going to talk through the complexities in that, but this is something we can never let happen again. And again, human error does happen, but it's something that should have been fixed long, long ago. The other problem is, and I'm just going to say this, I've made it very clear as a financial advisor, I cannot be on any banking records for FINRA and other rules. If you are a banker, you can also not be on the bank accounts of a board that you're on. And looking back to details, our treasurer 2 ago was and is a vice president of a bank that had access to our checkbook. That person never should have even offered to take that position or been voted into that position. That is a huge conflict of interest, right? So when we look back and see accounts out of balance going back 4 years through 2 different people, both of them previous bankers or current bankers, to me, that throws up a lot of red flags. And I have no problem looking back and trying to figure out what it is. And if it makes some people unhappy, it is what it is. We've got to do what's right. So again, going forward, we look forward to potentially making this partnership happening and making everything above board and transparent, right? Does anybody have any questions before we bring Kim on to talk through kind of what's been going on or where we're at?
All of what you just stated was rather thoroughly covered by Laura Tandy, and essentially documenting what you just portrayed for. So there's substantive documentation of the problems that we were dealing with. And it was good that we had another body looking into that and substantiating all of what you just indicated. So.
And just to clarify, all those emails and all the records and all the information has been shared to everybody on this board, everybody on village council, and our village council manager. So everybody has them. Thanks, Steve. All right. It's only uphill from here.
Okay. So you got my memo in your packet. So let me go through what our process is at the village with all of the other departments. So we have several different funds: water, sewer, local major streets, equipment, that type of thing. So they all get paid through our accounts payable system. And essentially that comes through our general fund checking. So they get an invoice, the department head does. If it is below 2,000, they have the authority to approve those invoices. If it goes up to 5,000, the village manager has to approve it. And then anything over 5, village council has to approve. So after all the approvals are done, the invoice gets sent to our billing clerk.
We cut the check. Me and David sign the checks. They go out. It's all on the warrant. That gets approved by village council. Then the checks get mailed out if we wait for the checks to go out, if they have to be approved by council first. And then at the end of the month, I write a check from our pooled cash from water, sewer, local major to reimburse the general fund back, because they're basically fronting those funds for those other funds. So that's essentially how it works. So I think, is it the chair that has the DDA chair that has the authority
Yeah.
to approve invoices up to
500.
500? So that would be a board decision on who you want to give authority to approve those invoices to be paid. Second, if you want to allow your DDA funds to go into that pooled cash account with the village funds. Pros to that are more efficient for us, obviously. Also, we have a ICS account, an investment account that we can sweep funds into, and I do that monthly. And basically, I keep enough cash to be FDIC insured. Everything else goes into investments, and then I can transfer them back and forth as needed. It does give a higher interest rate because it's all pooled cash. So you would make a little bit more money that way, though that's not the first priority. First priority is safety. So what I do for the park board, because I do give them monthly reports, I give them a check disbursement report, revenue expenditures, a balance sheet comparison from the previous year, that type of stuff. That's totally whatever you as a board would like to see. I'm sure BSNA has a report that can give it to you. Payroll. Currently, what we do is we invoice the DDA monthly for the director's wages. That would essentially go away. All the invoicing would go away. And then I would transfer the funds from our pooled cash to payroll to cover the payroll. So there are a couple of things that you as a board would have to discuss, is who authorizes your invoices and how much, up to what amount. If you would like to consider transferring those funds. If not, we can keep the DDA checking account separate. I would recommend having either David or I added as a signatory on that, so we can efficiently do the processing of all the bills. I think that is about it. Any questions?
I have some.
Sure.
So when you said the money, you have in there for your expensive, but then gets invested, what's it invested in?
It's just, it basically goes into, it's called an insured cash sweep, CDARS account. So it's a higher interest rate, and then they send it out to all be FDIC insured.
Okay, so it's a multi-bank layered.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure for FDIC purposes
Yep.
that. Okay.
Yep. So each bank that they disperse those funds to, none of them are over that 250,000.
Okay. And that's what I thought, but I just want to clarify
Yep,
when
no,
you said
absolutely.
vested, we're not doing something else. Okay.
No.
Okay. And then you would need somebody here to authorize the bills to be paid, right?
Correct.
Again, with complexities, I would prefer that not to be me if possible, which would lead, we had a conversation of, do we still keep a treasurer or not? I mean, to me, I think that would be a good role for that treasurer person to approve those for you.
Okay.
Would be my 2 cents.
Agree with that. That's what I was going to say, was, do we need a treasurer? And I was going to say, you probably shouldn't be the person to approve because of what you do. And then my exact thought was that should be the treasurer's duty then.
I still would like, I mean, just for transparency's sake, and nothing against you, but I think it would
none.
still be good to have a treasurer again, so that way they're involved with the audit process, just hearing things and seeing things and understanding where things go, and just more checks and balances. And
Oh,
again, nothing
absolutely.
against you, but
No,
what
no,
I've
no, no.
seen, not
No,
just
that's
here,
fine.
just in the years of doing this, I'd rather see more than less. So some of it might be redundant,
It's that trust but verify. That's fine.
but
So Kim, just broadly speaking, what you're offering to do for us is pay all of our bills. And what cost will we incur for that, both in the onboarding of this program and then in perpetuity?
That would be a discussion with the
Go.
village manager and council, I would assume.
Know that the DDA bills us for services that they render. Is that the situation that might happen? Manager Trent, do you have an answer for that?
I think initially, because of the amount of time that Tim might require to do the transition
Mhm.
of all of your past expenses and getting them loaded into our VSA program, that's something that's a reasonable bill that the DDA should incur. And going forward, once we're ready to pull the trigger and move forward with this partnership, we just see that as a routine part of the daily requirements of the staff. So there would be no further expenses that the DDA would incur with us taking over the financial oversight of it.
That sounds generous to me. So
so
you're saying there would be some cost, whatever you guys incur to get it all set up, and then after that, there would be no additional cost.
so and to throw that out.
And honestly, my opinion, maybe I shouldn't say this, but if it turns out to be more work than you're expecting, and there is that, you need to look for covering some of those expenses, I don't think that's unreasonable for us to cover some of those.
To be honest,
time.
I actually anticipate it to be less work for us.
Okay.
Just for the simple fact that we have that extra step of creating an
Sure.
invoice to send to the DDA
I
where
gotcha.
it would all flow
Well,
more
it seems like a
efficiently.
win-win-win
Can I add
for all
something?
of us.
It also would be a cost savings because we would not need to spend $4,000 a year with the LDC. They are aware of it. They support this. They think it's a good idea. So, and that's the company we pay to do what we're doing, right?
Sounds like a great
So-
idea to me.
And I actually have been speaking or emailing Laura Tandy. She's been sending me the transaction detail. Basically, it's ready to go. I've already talked to the auditors to see how we can convert and make sure everything is balanced. I would like a couple of board members just to review it before we go live, just to make sure that I have everything in the right spots, and that it's up to par with your board before we go live, just to get that, again, transparency and that second eye.
Speaking for myself too, when you're asking about which accounts or where the money comes from or goes to, my personal opinion, again, up to the board, but whatever is going to be most streamlined and easy for you, I think is the most logical answer.
Right, but I just
In
wanted to
my
make,
opinion.
to make it similar to what you are doing now. I got the chart of accounts from her and I've figured out, I think, where everything should go. But again, I would like the board to review that just to make sure that I'm
And
thinking correctly.
after I looked at our chart of accounts, I expressed to Laura, I said, can we add things here? So I'm sure there
Sure.
are things, she said, absolutely you can. She said, board just has to make a motion. She said, and I would wait until all of this is figured out anyway. So there are definitely things that should probably be added.
Okay, absolutely.
And I talked
And
to
we
her.
can do that.
Yeah, she said the same thing. There's a lot of stuff that should have been added over the past years we're really missing out on.
So Andy, we need to decide if we want to give this authority to the village. And then we also need to decide who has the authority and what spending limits. Is that my understanding?
Yep. And
And
whether we keep the money with our own bank or commingle it with their funds.
Is there a downside or upside to either one of them? So if we keep it in ours, are we theoretically retaining more interest? And if we blend it with yours, is it going to reduce steps that you're going to have to take?
It would
Um,
definitely reduce steps, and
that has
I think
value,
you
I
would get
think.
more interest because again, we have a bigger balance that you would be in line with.
So
and
we would reap the interest from our share of that money in
Correct.
your account.
Correct, because
So we're not
because I
losing
allocate the interest based on the balances
So
of each
to me,
fund.
that makes more sense. If it's easier on your end, I don't see a good reason for us to maintain our old bank account. Is there a reason?
Would we retain it all for anything, do you think? Any kind of miscellaneous, anything we would need? If we needed cash for, like, sometimes we need cash for different things, would we be able to pull that from that account at the village?
Either that, or you can have a petty cash fund here, in our vault or somewhere in order to get that quick cash, I guess, the
I think that would
emergency.
help to have petty cash, because we went scrambling when we didn't have our checkbook.
Christmas.
And it's all right here.
Yeah, and it's all right here, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great idea too.
Yeah.
So I think that would be good.
And then did I understand that if you have over $250,000 in your account, it is not FDIC insured?
That's why
It's
they break it
insured
up.
up to
They-
250, nothing over, but that's where that
Right.
sweep is coming in. That's
And
what I wanted to
that's,
ask.
so, to point out, our account has regularly been over 250, so.
And
So it'll be.
And I have brought that up
done right.
every year and saying, what are you doing to do that? And nothing's been done, so.
And
I'm glad,
again,
yeah.
our accounts here at Tri-County are slightly higher than 250, but council is made aware of that in every audit. And they're comfortable with, that Tri-County is here to stay. They're 4-star rated, so they're not gonna, go under. So they're comfortable with that little risk.
And off the air, I will be happy to talk through FDIC, not on camera. I'll let you know the ins and outs, but it's not. Yeah. And as far as don't get hung up with the interest, that's not going to last. So just say it. So it's more, I would look at it more of it's an ease of complexity. We'll take a little money while we can, but it's just going to add ease to the stream. So yeah, so to your question, A, we need a motion to go down this path. B, we need a motion who's going to handle that, which again, could be the treasurer, whoever, and then how much is there allowable. Do you have any recommendations for the amount of the allowable to spend?
Well, all of our department heads have up to $2,000 to spend. I mean, obviously, if it's within our budget,
Just looking at our last bill, with the exception of YSI's big one, there were a couple that were over 1,000, but they were under 2,000. So it seems like 2,000 is, not.
And then for the ones that go over, do we have to then just do them at the next meeting, or how does that work if we hit one that's over 2?
Well, again, it comes back down to timing because you meet monthly. I can't foresee a bill being due by the time we get an invoice due before your next meeting. But again, that's how comfortable you are. If you've already approved, say you've already approved the contract, the person that is signing off on it has looked at the contract, the invoice complies with the contract, we would cut the check. But for non-budgeted items, we always take it to council and the check stays here until we get approval from council.
That sounds real good, because most of our big purchases will have been pre-approved in a prior meeting anyway. So that would already be okay.
What about like the internal bills from you guys to us? Do those just get directly
Those
paid?
would disappear.
Yeah.
Because that is all included in that monthly check that I transfer from the DDA to our general fund, because the general fund has already cut the check for it.
Okay.
So yeah, it cuts out that middle step.
Okay. But will we still get like kind of what you send now is an itemized of what you're doing? Do we still get that, or is that
Yeah,
all the way?
you
Okay.
would
You'll
get a
still-
check registered. Did you include the?
I did include the
The check register
the
report?
check register.
Right.
and
Is that
then-
sufficient, or I can provide more detail?
Well, just like, like what I've seen so far on some of the invoices from over, like you do X amount of hours or DPW does X amount of, are we still going to see
Yeah, this is
that?
gonna show you the same.
Yeah, we're still going to get that, right?
Um,
The payroll fund, like for what we pay for her,
Yeah,
because
here.
those come over as
Will you
an
pass that up?
invoice. We're still going to get an itemization of what we're paying.
She has more
Back to you,
detailed
right?
ones too. I just only included the summary one.
Okay, so we're still going to see all this.
If that's what you would like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think we should still be able to.
Sure.
We should see what we're paying for.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Not that you got to create an invoice for everything, but it's
No,
just so we're going to see that. That's
And
basic.
also, if you would like, I bring all of the invoices to our council meeting. So in case council does have a question, I can pull up the stub and it has the invoice right to it. I could provide that to Angela, if there's ever a question.
Sure. I think, hope, expect that we will have a increasing partnership with the DPW, which I think will be nice to be able to keep more of the money in the village. So we should come up with something that's both not cumbersome on your end for letting us know what the DPW is doing for us, but also gives us enough information to know what we're spending our money on.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
I'm sure we can easily find a middle ground.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some, aches and pains at first, but we can work it out.
So at this point then, unless anybody has further questions or further discussions, then I say we work on the motions.
I would love to make a motion. How do I need to phrase it? To make a motion to give the village of Almont the ability to pay our bills?
To handle our daily finances.
To handle our daily finances.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
it's authority.
Authority?
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to make that motion.
Discussion factors.
Yeah.
This is a major, significant, positive development in multiple respects. Obviously, we've been going through a transition period, and having the village step in and coordinate is really good news. I certainly can attest to the fact that the village finances and the way that they're handled are exceedingly well done. Kim just does an absolutely terrific job and just actually gets better and better at it. So the competency level is there. And also what it does is puts us, all of us, into that position where we're integrating even further with the village council and DDA, which is something we've been talking about. So this does all of that. And I have ultimate confidence that the village will do an excellent job as far as handling DDA finances. And of course, I've seen that over all the 11 years that Kim has been here.
Just so everybody knows, just because we're commingling the assets doesn't mean they're not our assets, right? There's still accounting
Correct.
rules applied. It's still our money. It's just,
Yes,
just so everybody understands that.
sure.
So if somebody wants to you started on the path of making the motion.
Do I need to add anything else to
That's
it?
what I would say.
think
Do
it
we
was-
need to add pooling our funds to that statement probably?
I would make that a separate
If that's what we
motion.
want to do, separate? Okay.
Is the treasurer part on who's approving the bills need to be a separate part?
I would make
Okay.
them all separate.
Yeah.
And the
Okay.
amount also.
And the amount.
Yep.
So let's do the first one.
So first one's on me, to give them the authority to pay our bills.
I will second that.
All in favor? Opposed? It passes.
Great, thank you.
Awesome.
And just a
Thank
side.
you. Thanks for more work.
Thank you.
Yeah, more work. No. And just a side note, Angela has been a dream to work with. She's very communicative, and it's just nice to have that coordination again.
I couldn't have done
That's awesome.
anything without Kim. So just so we're
Well,
clear.
Told you before, we're committed to making this a better partnership.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right,
good.
so let's get through two more
Sure.
motions. case we need you.
Yep.
Somebody want to make the next motion to who's going to handle having the authority to pay the bills? To not pay the bills, to okay,
To authorize the
Authorize.
invoices.
And dollar amounts probably.
yes.
And we think that should be the treasurer.
My 2 cents is, if you read it, still, here's the hard part. You got to go back to our bylaws, and our bylaws says that the treasurer has the utmost financial fiduciary authority to handle that, and they are in charge of anything to audit, pay the bill. So our current bylaws, so we're not changing our bylaws around. If we appoint them to be that point person for that, we're staying within our bylaws. Unless we change it, then we got to change our bylaws.
Does this require us to change the bylaws, what we're suggesting doing?
No, I mean, as long as that person is within their fiduciary duty, no.
And I'll make the motion that the treasurer be the point person to authorize things over $2,000. Is that, or up to $2,000?
Up to.
Up to $2,000. Okay. Up to $2,000.
Second? Steve supports it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, so treasurer still retains their fiduciary duty. They're going to be your point person. So there you go. Do you need, that was it.
Pool the funds.
Oh, that's right. Next one we got to have on authorization to close the current bank account and pool the funds. Can we do that? Do you want that by check? Do you want that by have a direct transfer at the bank? What do you suggest so we can put that in the motion? And what's the time frame? I mean, are we pulling the trigger now or?
That is totally up to you.
We have to
We got
clear out
bills,
all of our
right.
checks that
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
right.
So that's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to
make
figure.
sure all
Are
the
we,
Are going
outstanding.
to be
should we put a time in the future to say by such a date?
And or maybe we could send her a substantial portion and leave a small amount and then close this out.
Could do that,
When
or
we're sure
would it
it's
be
set.
better for you just to cut all at once? I just want to make sure that we make the motion to be as smooth as possible on both ends. And it might be, we're going to make a motion to move all the funds of the bank by the end of March, let's say. And that way it kind of keeps it open-ended. And so that way, as everything clears to our knowledge, we know all that and you're good on your end, we can just automatically make that switch instead of having to come back for a specific dollar amount or anything.
I think it should be when they're fully ready to incorporate everything.
Right. But that kind of, the target you kind of said was March, right?
Right.
Right. So if we say if the motion is to move all the financials, all the cash from our bank account to the village by the end of the March, once everything gets paid, that'll satisfy what needs to be done. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, I will make a motion to pool our funds with the village and close our current bank accounts by March 31st, 2023.
Further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect.
All
Thank
right.
you. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for
We
very
need to make
detailed conversation. I appreciate
Kim
it.
and or David a signer. Oh, no,
No, we don't
'cause
need
now
that
you're-
one.
Because,
it's
yeah,
just-
yep. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you so much, Kim. I'm
Yeah,
so
this is great.
excited, and you have been
All right.
the biggest help.
So okay. So going to treasurer duty signers on the account. So right now, we have Steve and we have Krista. But we had some complexities in getting everything done. For this process and everything that's going on, Krista, do you feel like you still want to work through that? Or would you rather pass the torch on to somebody else as treasurer?
I think Holly and I should get together and go over everything that she's gone through with Laura. Going back and forth with Laura, she kept pinpointing on having the Excel access. And it's like, I don't have any of that information. So that's where I came problems with, was trying to figure out what she wanted, because she kept sending me screenshots instead of like directly telling me.
So I know in conversations back and forth on email, she did offer to do a Zoom multiple times, but that was not done, correct?
I was not able to do that.
Okay. So, I mean, that was a time frame about, what, a month and a half or so? You know, it's a timing issue, right? And we're all subject to timing issues. So, I mean, going forward, if we're doing this, we got to make sure that we're going to be able to set that time away to make sure you're worrying through whatever Kim needs to get everything approved in a timely manner if we're over that. I just know, seeing how quick the response happened, you had it done in what, 2 days? 2 days, everything was done within 2 days. So, and again, part of us taking on these volunteer roles, sadly at times you got to step up and do more, and took hours of my day for some other stuff today for other boards I'm on, right? So, I mean, I'm not looking to pull anything ever, but if you feel you're confident in doing it, I just want to make sure it is. But I know, Steve, you had some issues. You didn't get checks brought to you that were already done, and those haven't gotten paid, right? So if you feel,
I had tried to go to Steve's office, but no one was there the one day. And then we had the meeting a couple days later, and that's when I got him to sign them.
As far as I know, I was there.
all right. So I just want to make sure that this gets all done in an efficient, timely manner. I mean, if you want to stay on doing it, I mean, you're our treasurer for right now. That's up to you, but, or do you feel, or does anybody else have any thoughts or anything on it?
I think I need more guidance on how things are supposed to be written out, because the problem that I had going back and forth with Laura is because she wanted line items done a certain way. And she just kept sending me screenshots of how the Excel spreadsheet is, and I don't have Excel. I don't have access to the Excel account. And
Well,
as far as I know, we didn't have that information.
but again, she was more than willing to beat you on the Zoom.
Yeah, the last couple weeks I was not.
Yeah, and that's a timely thing, right? So, I mean, I'll be honest, when we're getting calls from DTE telling us they might shut our lights off, that's a problem, right? So, again, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers or anything, but I just want to make sure that we're going to be able to get any of this done in a timely manner. And if we can't meet on a Zoom over 3-4 weeks, to find time for 20 minutes, because I think, how long were you ladies on the Zoom for?
5-10 minutes.
Okay.
It's
And then how long did it take you to rectify the situation?
once I made sense of what was there, a half hour.
So something that took a month of not getting done was done in, essentially, if you had the time, 40 minutes. So, I mean, again, we appreciate all the help. It's just, I just want to make sure, I mean, does anybody else have any thoughts on this at all?
If it's needed, yes.
Yeah, no offense. I don't want to attack anybody. I don't know you that well, Krista, and whatever happened, obviously something was falling between the cracks. And what has been obvious since we have hit this little blank storm that we were dealing with it, Holly has been very adept at dealing with our finances right on top of it. It has not only appears capable, but been addressing the DDA issues with a lot of enthusiasm. So I think the board should seriously consider that Holly be our treasurer going forward.
When we started this, I said I didn't want to do it.
I know. I know, we dropped it on you.
I don't want to push it on her.
I know.
Because she does so much.
I know. And again, we appreciate you raise your hand to it. It's just, I know I sent multiple emails saying, hey, I'll meet you at 7 a.m. I'll meet you at 9 o'clock at night to kind of make this happen. And it just didn't happen, right? And again, everybody's busy. I'm on another board, and we just had our treasurer resign because she just said, I can't commit to this, right? And we're fixing that one too. So it happens. Everybody's got life, and it's okay. It's a delicate situation how to talk through it. And yes, they were fixed relatively quick. So if you're open with that, we'll have Holly. We'll need a motion to have Holly do it, get her on the bank accounts, With that being said.
Do I really need to be added to the bank accounts for 2 months?
No, not
I mean, I can meet up with Steve or Krista if I,
Yeah.
when
Actually,
I
we
need check
don't.
signs, not if.
Sure.
I don't think it's necessary to waste time and
True.
paperwork doing that.
True. Okay. All right. So if that's the case, can we make a motion to make this happen?
Yeah, I move to have the DDA board appoint Holly Miller as our treasurer, effective this date.
I'll support that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No. All right. Thank you. Thank you both ladies for doing that. Okay.
Thing I am gonna ask is she allowed to be both secretary and treasurer?
No,
So
that's going to be my next one.
Okay, just making sure.
With that
Got
being said, we need to pull the secretary duties from Holly. Would secretary be something you'd be willing to do, or do you want us to table that?
Exactly is secretary duties, because I didn't know what I was really getting myself into with this.
I know. Well, which is why we numerous times tried to, let's talk through this. Let's work through it. So can you explain secretary duties?
So, I mean, as far as I'm aware, this current moment.
We can, hold on, let me say it. I'll table this. We're going to maybe vote 2 more people on it.
And
so we
that's
could
what
probably
I was
wait.
going to say too. Maybe we should table this until we get further in the
Right.
agenda. But secretary duties, as far as I'm aware, is taking minutes during the meeting and then fairly quickly thereafter compiling the minutes that you see that are attached to our agenda from the previous meeting. That way they can be approved and then included in the following month's agenda and posted on our website and all those good things.
All right. Well, let's table that one then.
We'll table that for a minute.
It's just as involved as the other one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to number C. Number C. Letter C. Oh,
I like
Lord,
it.
it's a long night already. Lawsuit update. Now, this is fantastic news. Angela, please.
So the parking lot is ours. I think
It's been ours. Now it's really ours.
someone else is more equipped to speak to the legal aspect of that than I am.
Yeah, may as well address that, both from the legal standpoint, and I've been involved in this litigation since day one. So yes, it is really good news. When you appeal from circuit court, DDA won the trial level, Lapeer Circuit Court in front of Judge Lolka, and you have an automatic right of appeal for 21 days after the verdict is handed down. And so the plaintiff in that case was Steve Francis, basically his LLC, did do that appeal, and the Court of Appeals had to take it. And it took all this time, a year and a half or so, maybe a couple of years, for them to come to a decision. And it was a very clear decision by the Court of Appeals that the verdict from the trial court was not going to be overturned. And so for the moment, that brings that litigation to a successful conclusion, probably closing the door on it in its entirety. The only caveat would be that the LLC has a right to appeal to the Supreme Court, Michigan Supreme Court, which is be a higher level court, to please let us appeal the decision of the Court of Appeals. Supreme Court denies 95, 97% of those, and the likelihood that the Supreme Court would take the case on is minuscule, very unlikely. So this more than likely does close it out, and yes, you can put DDA in all those 12 parking spots. So yeah, it appears close to 100% that it's a very successful conclusion, and successful with it. And so Mr. Tuma tried that case and brought it to a successful conclusion.
So I think we might need a motion to approve that they file this motion to stay? Or are we just good? He wanted me to make sure that we were good for him to file this.
Is it set up so that it needs our approval? Is that what he's indicating? Order terminating. What I was seeing here is it looked like that had already been approved. I mean, what's indicated on this sheet here, I guess page 1.
Did he have
is
it in his email?
Order terminating.
Yeah, in his email, he just said, as long as he said we would like to file this motion.
So we need a motion to accept the filing of the motion by the attorney?
Yeah,
It wouldn't hurt, I
Really
guess,
quick.
and then I'll just.
yeah,
send them.
well, it would be an order, a motion authorizing the DDA's law firm to file the motion to terminate the stay of the enforcement of the judgment. I was.
Can you say that one more time?
Could you either say it one more time or make the motion the same one?
Or both, either way.
Yeah, okay. Make the motion to authorize the DDA's law firm to file a motion to terminate the stay of the enforcement of the judgment. You get that?
To terminate
Okay.
the
Terminate the stay
stay, thank you,
of the
of
enforcement
the enforcement.
of the judgment.
Got it.
Because that was stayed during the pendency of the
Thank
appeal.
you.
Appeal's done that. Okay.
Got
we
it.
Good?
I got it.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Okay.
Steve made the motion, Paul supported. Any further discussion? I'm going to say one thing. If everybody read, there is going to be money coming back to us on there. That was in the final under further ordered. $5,000, $1,000, $2,089.75, $500, and that was all added together. So it's $3,589 plus the $5,000. So, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes. All right, moving on to D, letter D, not number D this time. Director applications. We received an application from Miss Angela Edwards that was received on 12/14, and from a Christine Malzahn that was received 1/4. So there's been only 2 applications received thus far. Make a note that the deadline was to be done by 12:30. So the second application actually arrived late. So at this point in time, we need a motion on what we're doing with the applications. Are we willing to look at both of them? Only one because it fell within the time frame.
Want to talk about timeliness?
Yeah, and of course, it got more complicated than that. I think I sent out an email to everybody. 1, late, so that's unfortunate. 2, as I pointed out, that Christine Malzahn appeared to have excellent credentials, but she ran for re-election and lost the election. Now, that doesn't disqualify her, but that means that she made enemies. If you're familiar at all with the politics in Bruce Township and Romeo, it's toxic. So going back 2 years, maybe a little bit longer, we had the clerk of the Bruce Township board apply for the village manager's position here. And not to speak in too colorful language, we were invaded by Bruce Township. They were not only showing up here at the village, the local newspaper sent out its very negative portrayal of the applicant here, and we were just bombarded with a very negative commentary upon this particular applicant who appeared to be well qualified and just turned it into a bleep storm. It was horrible. And I have been informed by those familiar with what's going on there in Bruce Township and Romeo, and as to this particular individual, we would face the same situation. So it sounds like a very strange situation, but that is the political reality of this particular application. So I would have to recommend to the board that we not consider that applicant for this position, because we will not enjoy the consequences of considering her. Be very negative. So that's the reality, and what you can find out sometimes if you dig somewhat under the radar tells me that that should not be an application that we consider.
Other thoughts?
I'll add that I have learned similar things and looking into the other applicant. A simple Google search will net you some results that are not favorable, and I don't think they're things that this board wants to deal with or have put in our hands. We don't need any more negativity.
Why, the pitchforks were fun.
Right. And it appears that there would be a lot more negativity brought towards us if we went that way.
The other thing I do recall in delving below the radar somewhat is that this party that applied, her management style was, this is the way we're doing it, highway or my way. It was a hard line with little showing of flexibility and working with people, which I think becomes extremely important if you're executive director of the DDA. So that was just another factor. So sorry. So we have one applicant on the table, and it seems to me, aside from, I mean, Andy, you and I had a discussion at the last meeting about how we should be handling this situation. I am fully on board with a full-time director. And we got somewhat hung up on that going back a ways in terms of, does that mean if it's a full-time director, does it have to include fringe benefits? And would that apply? And I had suggested that we consult, the village has a labor attorney, that they are cream of the crop. They know exactly what they're doing. And we've used that labor law firm over the years. It's a Schiffman law firm, and there's nobody better at that. And we could consult with them to see if that would be the case. In the most optimistic or the best way this could work out is if we could have a full-time director and have a legal conclusion as to what the obligations would be.
We've already done some research on that, correct?
That's what I was going to say.
I don't think we have to
Yeah, we don't.
provide benefits.
Angela's looked into it, spoke with you and legal, correct? And we do not have to. Right. So I think before we go too much down that rabbit hole, right?
Right.
I think right now, director's applications, we got to figure out, A, do we accept one? Yes, no. And do we accept two? Yes, no. And get through that point. And then from there, let's go for further discussion in what you were going down. So let's go back to the first one for Angela, receive on 12/14. Does the board accept her application? Make a motion that we do or don't. All right, Steve makes a motion. Second. Any further discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, opposed? No. All right. Let's make a motion. Do we accept the application for candidate number 2, Christine Malzahn, that was received on 1/4? Need a motion, yay or nay?
Motion to deny
Can I
that
get a-
application.
Can I get a second?
Second it.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. So as of now, we only have one applicant. Now we don't have to worry about which way we're going. So now let's have a further discussion on full-time, what you're talking about. We did clarify we do not have to offer benefits. Does our only applicant need benefits? No. Okay. I mean, we've seen the current applicant work, right, over this period of time, which has been very tumultuous to say the least, right? You know, sitting through an interview and having somebody put their best face on and see if they're really going to work out, it's a crapshoot. You know what I mean? Seeing somebody go by trial by fire and work through what they're working through, I know, you know, I have my reservations for various reasons, but I know I have been very impressed over the last few months, and I've been telling that to everybody. Again, things have been handled very correctly, very timely. You've kept me in the loop without turning into a stalker, thank God. Got rid of that one. So, you know, I appreciate that as a chairman. But I think communication has been done well. I think thing has been streamlined. Catching the issue, like I mentioned earlier, is huge. Being open to work through all these ideas. I've never heard once it can't be done or it's too hard. And I appreciate that. So that's my take on that. So from there, anybody else?
As far as full-time or part-time, I genuinely suspect that Angela has probably worked 40 hours a week, even though she's not billing us for that.
100%.
But I think that there are genuine benefits to us having a full-time DDA director, not just the Main Street program, which I hope that we can make work. But I think that if we're looking at the option of full-time or part-time, my opinion is full-time is going to be better suited for us.
And I did share that prior, so you've already been on the email. Everybody's been on the email on the survey, the salary survey study. And it does for what we collect in tax revenue and for our budget, it definitely does fit the bill. Everybody's seen it. So, all right. And let me also clarify out there, you know, we don't have a policy on how we hire, how we apply, there's nothing written, right? So just for clarification's sake, I know I went back and forth with a few on that, but we really don't. And that's something we've talked about of working a little bit deeper on. No different than any DDA director we hire. We need what are we striving them to get? Like what tangible stuff? So we need to work through that. But at this point, I think we need to figure out who's going to be in that role first, and we'll work through the complexities. So anybody want to figure out where do we go from here? Are we going to do a full-blown interview with the person, or where are we at?
An interview is moot at this point. Angela has more than shown her dedication, her compassion, her hard work. It's been a pleasure to deal with Angela since she started. I think an interview is a waste of everyone's time, honestly. Like you said, an interview or a trial by fire, and
Right.
she is, come out on top here. So
Well, we heard some very good comments from Kim tonight too. Appreciate that.
The generality is the test of time is everything's subject to the test of time. And so Angela has been subject to that test of time. And the reality of the situation is that she's had that interview essentially by her performance. And I think we're all impressed with Angela's enthusiasm for this position. And even like her director reports have gotten favorable commentary at council from someone who wasn't that favorable, whatever was going on with the DDA. So that definitely was a plus. I mean, but of course, I think we need to know, and this was somewhat of a sticky wicket, I think, as far as Angela is concerned. I presume that if Angela becomes our full-time executive director, that she would not be otherwise employed. Because my understanding, which is limited, you have a couple of part-time jobs, and since this would be a full-time job, which may end up being 60 hours a week, who knows, that we receive some kind of representation from Angela what would happen with her other two employment.
So we definitely want to
situations.
make sure there's no conflict of either interest or conflict of time, right? The focus needs to be on the DDA. And again, as we sat through that DDA symposium, just talking through that, if they don't have their full focus on it, it's something that's going to not work. So that is key. And that was always key to me as well.
So of course, I'm speaking as someone who employs Angela otherwise, but truthfully, I don't know that it's fair for us to tell her what she does with the other not 40 hours per week. Whether she chooses to, whatever she chooses to do, whether it's volunteer with the school board, work for me, work for Christy, or sit by the campfire every day. I don't think it's up to us what she does with the non-40 hours that we're paying her. I think that that's quite a stipulation that very few employers would push on somebody. I don't have any sort of rule that my employees can't do something else with their own time when I'm not paying them to work.
Well, as a
That's my opinion.
generality, in the abstract, that sounds fine. But I certainly see the potential for a conflict in terms of her duties as a DDA director who is supposed to engage with the businesses and enhance the businesses and the downtown. I see the potential for a conflict.
Sure.
I understand, and
Yeah,
probably,
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, it's.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm just a little concerned with that. You know, I made it obvious that I'm favorably inclined towards Angela having this position. I just worry about that a little bit, and of course, you know, we're trying to avoid any
In her short
appearance of impropriety.
interim time, she has worked for me and the DDA simultaneously, right? Like I can't tell you how many hours I've paid her to talk to Andy. I'm telling you the truth, right? I've paid her real money to talk to Andy and type up DDA things, which I don't care because I know it's for the good of the town. And I suspect Christy might be able to tell you the same thing, although I can't speak for her. But it's not up to me. None of it's up to me. I understand that there could be conflicts. There may be things, other things that could be a conflict, a potential conflict in the future. But I also don't know that we have the right or should be telling her what she can or should do with the time other than we're paying her for.
We technically can. I mean, I'm bound even, and again, I'm a different animal, right? But I have to do every year, I have to acknowledge I don't have any other outside employment. If I do have to list it, any board, any board work, anywhere I have a bank account, any property I own. I mean, so you can list caveats like that if, you know, if we ever feel that for some reason things could be construed as a conflict. And again, to what Steve's saying, you know, she's here for the betterment of the community and the DDA. We can't show that she's ever playing favorites to one or another, right? And her goal is that focus that's there. And to me, that is a concern, just for that conflict, potentially conflict from there, right? You just don't know. And the last thing you want her running around going, oh, look, there's Angela, you know, there's Paul's girl that's just trying to do stuff for them. You know, I mean, you just don't want that. You want to know that, you want the community to know her heart, her soul, her focus is that DDA, right? And even bringing her on originally, that was, I told her directly, if we get to a full-time spot, that's got to be it. So
So can we potentially clear all of this discussion up by asking Angela what her plans would be if you are asked to be full-time?
Ask her that. She can
Yeah.
answer if she wishes.
Well, I mean, Christy and I have already had the conversation that, you know, I would be here 40 hours a week. So this would be, you know, my job. I suppose as far as Paul is concerned, if it's a conflict, then that is something that, you know, we can work through. As of right now, I know Melissa is only putting me on the schedule when I say I can come in. So that's going to be, I guess, up to you guys to decide what's a conflict and what's not.
well, and going back to that, per even your comments, hey, I'm paying her to talk to Andy. You shouldn't be,
True.
right?
I am, but-
So you just validated the problem with it, right?
But she's of enough value to me that what I'm getting in between when she's talking to you is okay.
I get that, but it's still right. There's a conflict. You basically just explained what a conflict is, and that's the problem, right? So,
Not sure that's entirely true, but okay.
well, if you're paying her to talk to me at the same time we're paying her to talk to me, that's a conflict.
If as her boss, I asked her not to answer her personal phone call, she wouldn't have answered your call, but I allowed her to.
Okay, then while she's working for you, then you should have told her not to. I'm not
No,
saying
I wanted her to. I allowed her to.
I
as her
understand that,
boss.
but you understand if you're looking big picture, that is a conflict. It's because the minute she's talking to me, she's now on the DDA clock. So she's not on your clock, or she's still on your clock and on DDA clock. That's where the problem is.
I can tell you categorically, I've never written down a DDA time when I've taken a phone call.
But
Well,
you
I
should have.
probably should have,
Right.
but I have not.
To that point, we don't need you to get into that position of, am I doing this enough or that enough or this, that, and we can't have that.
I don't disagree. I've said for the last 2 months, I am being pulled in too many directions, especially with taking over, you know, president of the school board, which is more time, you know, than I was already giving. So
And that's an elected volunteer spot. That's a different animal, right? That's a whole different thing.
I can tell you that if we made Angela our permanent executive director, and she maintained employment with either of the two businesses, going to run into a problem with the council. I see council members are going to go. They're going to hoot and holler and create issues.
So would it be
What-
of
what are
no
you
issue
doing?
if I resigned?
No, it's not because you're a DDA board member. It's because you own a business downtown and she's working for you and she is the executive director to the DDA. That's the conflict.
Right.
Not because
So-
you're a DDA board member.
Right.
Yeah, that's the problem. And
I mean, the DDA board member layers on a little complexity to it, but ultimately it's the fact that it's the employment, really.
And it, as previously indicated, I'm favorably inclined. I think Angela brings a lot to the table. I'd love to see her take that position. But I'm a little concerned with your response, Angela, because it appears to me that you're hedging, and maybe you need to think about what you want to do. If you're saying, well, no, I still want to maintain my connections with those two businesses and continue some employment with them, then I'm not sure that we could appoint you. We probably shouldn't because of that, quote, appearance of impropriety and whether we're going to actually run into the conflict, but certainly there will be that appearance. And if you think, no, I want to maintain those connections, we need to know that before we would approve your hiring as executive director.
I don't think that I meant it in that way. I meant if I have time and it was not a conflict, I would still do it. If you're saying obviously I want this job and I want it full-time and I want to be here. And I, want to do whatever I can for the community. But it's your discretion as a board and council's discretion as a board, what's a conflict and what's not. That's all I was saying. If you are saying it's a conflict, then that's that.
I think that that's rather clear. that-
Yeah, and I brought that up even when we started down this path, saying, hey, if this turns into a full-time, your efforts are going to be here. There's going to have to be a separation. And at the time, you seemed to be pretty supportive of that, saying, well, if I have to let her go, I'll let her go. And she's a great employee, but
I
her
just
heart's there.
frankly don't understand. Like, Kim was a realtor selling homes while she was doing this job.
So,
She's-
and I was thinking the same thing in my head,
and-
but she was part-time.
Yeah.
And
But-
I think
But
that's
who's to say
where,
how many hours you choose to work
I
in a
agree with
week?
you.
So,
Like, that's,
but she's part,
I don't know that it's a fair judgment.
but she was not a realtor in town. She was a realtor. I mean,
I don't know that that's true.
But she didn't have a bit. She wasn't representing a business in town, right? So as she's running around, to that point, look what we got out of that. So you know what I mean? We need somebody that's going to be fully focused on here, and we can't give the community any chance. Now, again, it's up to her. If we're willing to offer the spot, and it's contingent on the fact that this is your full-time and only employment, that's up for her to accept it. After that, she can give her 2 weeks notice to whoever she wants to. But I'm with Steve on that one. I don't think it's going to fly through council either. So,
I'm not sure council has oversight for it, but
what do we have to do with the DDA director?
council has no oversight. for the director.
That was a contentious issue at council. It was like, it was teetering.
Pretty sure the
Until
MDA is.
we recognized
clear.
it, but you can take the position, well, council really doesn't have authority, but you're going to have a negative reaction, which will not be beneficial to DDA, because we're supposed to start working together. And if we got the appearance of impropriety, just it looks bad, I can't vote for it. Which to me would be very disappointing. Because that's something we're trying to avoid. We're trying to clean everything up. And if it's not going to be cleaned up, okay, it looks like we're just creating another problem. I understand you probably are favorably inclined towards Angela's performance with you, as we are with what she appears to
Certainly.
be doing for the DDA.
Yeah, she gives me about 10 hours a week right now, and I really can use it. It's skilled.
But even when we went down this path, at the time frame, you'd say, "Oh no, she's going to work for me forever." If that time frame, and I brought that up then, I said, "Well, then we're not going to go down this road, or I'm not going to accept going down this road." So that was all discussed months ago, and
still,
yeah. So
we don't have to agree.
no, we don't, and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's really Angela's call.
Well, no, someone's got to make a motion to offer the job and how much, and then with that contingency and whether she accepts it.
I make a motion that we offer Angela the job without a contingency that she can't work for the PTA or the school board or anyone else.
That's your motion. Do we have a second on that?
I would second that.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Does that pass then?
What was the vote count?
Voted aye. Okay.
Angela may choose not to work for me or the PTA or the school board or anyone else in
The issue
town.
isn't the PTA or the school board. Those are volunteer positions. If that's the case, I wouldn't be here. You know what I
If
mean?
I quit paying Angela, would that make it better?
Then she's not an employee. Is she a W-2 employee now? 1099 employee now?
Yeah.
I mean, what you do for free is another story. That's a whole other ballgame. I mean, if she's W-2'd and 1099, she's an employee. You know what I mean? So if you want to work for free, then she's not working then, right? But okay, and she's just volunteering at that point in time, I guess. I don't know, but I'd be careful going down that path. All right, so that motion was made to offer her the spot full-time at what salary?
Whatever we're currently paying her per hour.
Is she hourly or is she salary?
Salary at 40 hours.
Is everybody still good with that? Or do we need to bring that back up?
We should revote. We
Right.
should vote on those details.
All right, then somebody make a motion for the salary versus hourly and how much?
Okay, that salary and hourly, or how many hours, is it just 40 hours?
That's where we need a motion.
Caps needs to 35 plus, I think.
So this is new territory. Do you guys have an opinion?
You doing the math over there, Andy?
Yeah, so if we do it 52 weeks, now at the end of this, is there vacation time? Is there anything involved with that? You know, we've always been hourly before, so it gets a little bit more complex.
We could do it hourly.
Well,
It's a
it
consensus of
depends.
the
If
board.
she's not leaving her other job, I don't want her to pay to take my phone calls if she's doing another job. So then, yeah, hourly would
So if
probably
we
be
do it
better.
hourly, do we then get into overtime? Like during Heritage Fest and holidays and?
Good, yes.
So, well, the prior director was salary. In other words, however many hours worked. It was a salary. It wasn't,
Salary is
it wasn't
floating.
based on hours.
Yeah, but it was pretty much realized that maybe it was 20 hours at this time frame and then more the other.
I think salary is a more appropriate situation here.
Times where she'll be working a lot, and other times that is less
Absolutely.
intensive. The job is less intensive.
So right now, she's 20 an hour, 40 hours a week. That's 41.6.
It's 20. Is that what it is right now?
That's what we're doing right now, correct?
Understanding is that Romeo recently hired an executive director for their DDA at 40. So I'm not suggesting cutting it, but I'm saying that that's within the range.
Well, and you gotta remember, I mean, we are still in the honeymoon stage. I mean, I do think you're doing a great job. You know, we do have an option in a year to, you know, potentially give a higher raise, and see where we're at. So,
Actually, there's an annual review.
correct.
It was the last time.
So somebody make a motion to whether it's salary or hourly and how much that is.
My holdup is I thought her hourly rate was more.
It's 20.
Yeah, I thought it was more than that. I thought it was 25, honestly.
No.
And I did review the numbers that we reviewed previously, whenever that was. And I thought 25 was appropriate when I reviewed that. 20 is,
For the salary, we were 40 to 43. She's at 41. Using this, we're at 41.6. Just need to make a motion.
thoughts on the salary amount?
Me personally, I'm fine at 20 for now, being again, we maybe set the caveat for 6 months and then a year, and to go that direction to see how it is. Again, we're treading different water here. We really didn't do I mean, not that we needed to do a full type, interview, but why not do 6 months and then
What was that amount you said, Andy?
41,600.
41.
All right, then we do a review in 6 months from now, and then another review at the annual, both with potential increases in pay. But with that, by next meeting, we're gonna have to determine what those caveats are. So, what are we trying to have her strive to do? Like, other than just keep the lights on. So we as a board have to come together and say, is it X amount of businesses contact, or, what's moving forward? So we're gonna have to develop what that thought process is. Any other thoughts? 6 months in a year? Okay. So somebody make that motion for
Or hire at that amount,
41.6.
21.6, and review it 6 months and review
Okay, at salary.
at salary.
Contingencies or no contingencies of other employment?
He already offered the job.
Already done.
He already offered the job. We're
Okay.
just
I
we're
just
just
wanna be
working on the dollar amount now.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Any further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay. I will not be voting in favor of any that creates the conflict of interest as has just been adopted by the board this evening. I cannot, in good faith, face my counsel saying I voted in favor of the kind of conflict of interest that's been created this evening.
Angela
So-
hasn't said she's not leaving me.
So I'm
Yeah, I'll
voting
be
nay,
honest,
and I will
I-
continue
Yeah.
to vote
And-
nay until the issue is resolved. And if it continues in the present fashion, then
Steve, Angela hasn't told either
I'm
of us
voting
what she's
nay.
doing. Okay.
I'm voting nay.
No, you can make
I
a
am
vote. I
not
just
going
want
to
you to
vote
understand
favorably for a
that
conflict
Angela
of interest.
hasn't stated that
Right.
she's not leaving me.
And to
Yeah,
that point,
it's a hedge answer and it's not a direct answer. And she has a right to do that. That's fine. I am not going to approve that.
Okay. No,
It's-
I understand.
And to
From
that
my point
point-
of view, it's improper and it at the very least creates the appearance of impropriety, and it's not the right thing to do. And I'm saying that about someone that I really like and I think does a great job.
All right,
Terrific.
can I talk for a
and
second?
hold on, let me clarify mine. I approved the dollar amounts. I did approve nay on the first one because I am okay with the dollar amounts for that position, but I am not okay with the rest of it.
I think as village president, I have to take a stance.
Yeah, that's okay. There's
So,
nothing wrong with
fine.
that.
I respect that stance, but I don't want to start this relationship off on this foot. This is not at all what I have been about ever. I want unity. I want us to work together. I want us to be a cohesive unit. I would never want to give the appearance of impropriety, and I would absolutely not take employment or payment from be an employee of something that would give that appearance. This is my sole focus. I wouldn't, I wasn't trying to give you a hedge answer. It's for you to decide what the I'm serve at the pleasure of the board. It's for you to determine what you're comfortable with and what you decide is a conflict of interest for both village council and for the DDA board. So that was not me being coy. That was me saying that's not my purview. That's yours. If that helps.
All right, so
Motion was heard.
motion's been made to offer you the position. Motion's been made to offer you the dollar amounts. I guess at this point in time, is this something that you want to accept? And then are you accepting it what direction, or do you want to let us, or do you want us to have you give you time to think through all this?
Obviously, I want the job, but I don't feel good about everything that just transpired. So I'm not sure. Like, this isn't how I want it to. This isn't the foot I want to start off on.
Well, unfortunately,
Not to get emotional, but I
yeah,
really just want the village and the DDA and even the township to be, a functioning unit. So
So if we go back to even when I had the first conversation with you, and again, my reservations appeared conflict, right? And we kind of talked
Absolutely.
through that, right? And I said, if this becomes a full-time deal, I will support it as long as the conflicts are gone. In my years of doing what I've done, it's a conflict. Whether you think it's not, I don't really care. It's a conflict. So I'm not saying you're ever going to do anything wrong, but it is, and I don't want you upset over that, but that's the reality. When we're not just trying to win hearts and minds with the businesses, back to what everything happened before is, we're also here as fiduciaries for, taxpayer dollars, right? And the last thing we ever need is anybody thinking one direction or the other, right? And
I'm not disagreeing with you, and
Yeah.
I just don't want it to start off adversarial.
I don't
That's-
think it is. I don't think it's adversarial at all towards you. I think it just, me personally, I'm like, hey, oops, with this, if it's a little bit touchy right now, why don't we say, why don't you let us know by the end of next week which direction you go, to give you time to think through it. I get where Steve's at. There really wasn't. I think he wanted more of a concrete. Yes, I'm taking the job, and I'm done, and kind of what we were thinking the direction was going to go, right? So I don't have any hard feelings or anything.
But yeah, I mean, this isn't anything but comfortable,
Right,
obviously.
right.
But sometimes you have to do things that are uncomfortable, as we know.
Sadly,
And yeah, this is the last thing I expected.
Yeah.
I didn't expect this board to do this.
right.
But then, boom, you're bumping up against principles. I have to stick by the principle.
So, Angela, with everything that's been said, would you feel comfortable accepting the position and on your end saying with the contingency that you will not work for anyone else? I think
Other
it's
than your
fair.
volunteer roles, which
Right.
that's fine.
Other than volunteer roles, because that's
Yeah.
separate. I think if you are comfortable saying and doing that, I think that would make Steve more comfortable when he presents it to village council, if that's something you're willing to do.
I would accept the job with contingencies that I will not be an employee of any business in the DDA district. But I do have to, have a couple weeks.
Right. You have to give them
Oh, yeah.
notice. That's fair.
I think everybody's open to that. I mean, no, we said that in the beginning, we want to be fair with you. And I said, I never want whoever's in this role, I never want to set up for failure ever. Right. But on that same side, I was very, very open on this dialogue on concerns. Right. But with that being said, we also said, hey, yeah, we'll give you time to give your ducks in a row. It's not like this has to happen 2 minutes ago. You know what I mean? You've got time to work through it. And I have no problem. That's normal. All
I
right.
think Paul, Kristen, and I were probably, well, let me not say that. I was trying to stand up for Angela's right to work for whomever she chooses to, because there are more than 40 hours in a work week. So in my world, in most of our worlds. So
There's about
I-
90 or 100 in Angela's.
right. And I know that, and I see that. So I think I was just trying to stand up for that right. And if you're in, not trying to make you quit something that you're passionate about. But I understand where Steve is coming from.
She's giving us 40 hours. Is she able to work other areas?
She can work for anybody outside of the DDA district. I don't really care. It's the DDA district is the
What we
problem.
approved is she can work for whoever she wants. She can make the choice to work for nobody in the DDA district if she chooses.
The issue becomes the DDA district. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, it's a sticky thing. And is it comfortable? No, but I mean, it's one of those things that if you really want the job, you sign up for it. No different than what I've done, right? You look at it and go, is this something I really want to do? You're limiting yourself on all sorts of things, right? But if you have a passion for it and you want to do it, then you make it happen.
Say anything else?
Oh, I think you said you're
Okay.
willing to do it, right?
Do we need to make a new motion to offer her employment the way that village council would see fit and to vote on it?
Technically, you would have to rescind the prior motion and then a new motion.
Is what she said good enough for council or no?
Pardon?
Is what she stated good enough for council or no? Or do you want us to rescind it?
Yeah, what I understood Angela to say is that she would not be working for a business in the DDA district at the same time that she was executive director to DDA. Did I state it correctly?
But she
Yeah.
doesn't have shackles on her wrist saying she can't have another job.
No,
besides the
yes.
DDA.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Correct.
nobody said that. It's
No,
just,
that was that was
So if you
what
want
you guys were saying.
no, I had no problem with her getting another job somewhere else.
right.
You know what I mean? If she wants to be a realtor, run around and sell houses, as long as the office isn't downtown, I don't really care.
Paul, if you want to
But
move
it's
your
there.
office up to the A&W, which is
Well,
not
no,
the
A&W
is
DDA
right.
district.
It is.
You could do that.
That's in the district.
That's in the district.
You want to,
Okay.
if you want to
Yeah.
sell snowmobiles up at Greenia's, you
There
can.
you go.
It's out of the DDA district.
Perfect.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not going to have issues when you take it to
Yeah.
council. Is
No,
where I'm getting at.
it's,
Okay.
no.
Yeah.
I don't want to have another round.
so someone needs to make a motion to rescind that first one.
Steve
and
said we don't.
Steve says
We don't need to?
No, that's what I was trying to clarify is what Angela stated good enough and he said that's good enough.
Oh.
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah, I was just saying, I thought you
But-
said you have to.
But because you have to follow certain
Okay.
protocol,
Right.
the DDA board passed a motion, and that's the legislation of this board at this moment, and you have to rescind that and then vote in a new motion with the condition that
Okay,
Angela apparently
I will make a
agrees to.
motion to rescind our
Paul's
previous
motion.
offer.
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. I would
Everybody
like,
an aye? I didn't-
yes, sorry.
So
I
then,
was right.
then say you're a nay.
Nay, you didn't
Speak
say
up.
Nay.
All right. Are you an aye or a nay?
Are you okay with that?
Doesn't matter if she is. You got a vote on your hand, aye or nay.
I think that she has shown herself very much over the last few months of what she's capable of. And I think we should feel her and decide if she has other employment, whether in the district or out of the district, as long as it's separate.
Then vote aye or nay. Okay, so it's still 3-2.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Flip
I
the other way.
So
now.
it remains,
Okay.
it remains
So-
on the table.
Yep,
fine.
I would like to make a motion to offer Angela full-time employment with the contingency that you cannot work for a business in the DDA district at a salary of $41,600 per year with a 6-month review and a clarified job description. That's my motion.
Second on that?
Procedural problem, right? So, so this will be fun. Whoever looking at this, watching it, I would be supportive of that motion. Problem is, you have a motion that has not been rescinded, that she essentially can be hired in and can work wherever she wants, even
It
for
was
Second motion.
rescinded.
We already motioned to
It was
rescind that one.
3 ayes and 2
It was
nays.
3 ayes and 2 nays.
Holly flipped for
It
the,
did
for the
pass?
second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
she's-
I'm
she-
sorry.
Yeah.
she
My
voted
apologies,
aye,
I
aye.
misunderstood.
But now your second
There's a lot of
motion
that tonight.
should just be her salary, since
Yeah.
you've already, your first
Okay,
motion
yeah.
has already covered
Right,
Yeah, I'll support that.
the
Okay.
contingency of the,
Yeah, okay.
yes. So
Her
this
working.
motion is accept the position full-time, 41.6, with the contingency of no employment with it, other employment within the DDA district.
is that doubling?
No, I completely rescinded the first.
The first one was just rescinding the motion.
Yes,
Okay.
Great.
I
So this
understand.
is to replace that and
Mhm.
now make the
with
offer.
new verbiage.
Yes,
Do you want me to say it again, what it is?
say it
Nope.
again.
Do you need me to?
Just
No.
to clarify it, say it again.
So I'm making the motion to offer Angela full-time employment with the contingency of not being employed by any other business in the DDA at a salary of $41,600 per year with a 6-month review and a clear job description.
You made the motion. Can we get a second on that now?
Support.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I don't know
Aye.
how to vote
Aye.
on this one.
Yay or
Come
nay?
on.
I'm aye or no?
Aye.
Aye. All right, universal, passed by all.
Congrats,
Well,
Angela.
congrats.
Wait, does it
You lost two
drag
jobs
someone
and gained
through it?
one, all in one fell swoop.
One fell swoop.
All right. So, That went way longer than I thought it was gonna go.
Yeah,
Jesus.
that was fun.
All right, now, application for appointment of the DDA. People still want to do this? Lord. All right, first up, Miss Tricia Feldman. We got your application. Do you want to wait till you get back? All right, so you want to come up and just tell us a little about yourself for the record? We all know who you are.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me or my history, my name is Tricia Feldman. I'm a resident of Almont since 2000 and in the village since 2012. I started my business in 2008 in Colorado, moved it here, and it has progressed where I moved it into the village July of 2020. So I continue to support the area businesses in my own shop with their marketing needs, and we service the residents of Almont as well. I look forward to meeting more, being in the village. I look forward to meeting more of the residents. We've had a good time with the events in the village. So just being part of the community has been great. I'm a homeowner and a business owner in the village. I have a deep interest in the village progressing in a positive way. And I'm going to help any way I can, whether I'm on the board or just as a resident or a business owner. So I'm going to help no matter what. I'll bring my strengths and my commitment to help the village to the board. And I think together we can create programs and projects to achieve our joint objectives for the community. So does anybody have any questions?
The hard part, I think everybody knows you, right? So I appreciate you coming up and talking. And, at this point in time, we're going to have to, make motions to approve or not. Again, going back to conflicts, we already, for everybody else watching, we did consult our legal team to figure out if there was a conflict to having a spouse on the village council. They ruled that there isn't. The way that our bylaws are set up and the way the village council set up, that there is this isn't a nepotism issue. So just so everybody's aware of that, I think we sent all the information out to that. So we definitely appreciate it. Obviously with that, anything that is sensitive back and forth, you could not vote on. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. At that point, do we need a roll call then for appointing a DDA board member? I'm trying to
Let me
remember.
reference our new handbook.
Oh yeah, get your handbook
Angela,
out.
do you know off the top of
Yeah,
your
where's the
head?
checklist at?
I haven't had time to look at this yet, but
Do a roll call.
I
Okay,
don't
because
see
you're gonna
it.
have to appoint.
I don't see it
Yeah.
looking quickly, but
Yeah, it's not gonna hurt to do a roll call. Do we need to do a roll call after talking to both candidates, or can we do one and then one?
Do one on one.
All right.
Make a motion to approve the appointment of Mrs. Feldman to the DDA board.
I will second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's get a roll call on that then.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Go ahead.
All right, Holly Miller?
Aye.
Steve Schneider?
Abstain because I'm doing the appointment.
Aye, you approve? Okay. Krista? All right, and I approve. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Unofficially yet, so it has to go through board approval. Then you have to do your swearing in with Kim, correct? All All right. And then after that, yes, you have to swear in Angela. And then it wouldn't take effect till the following meeting. We're going to be able to, the board, will village council be able to approve on that by then? Okay. Oh. Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank
Okay.
you.
All
We're
right.
looking
Make sure to
forward.
show up.
Yeah.
Make sure to show up.
Yeah, show up. All right. So number 2 on the list of applications was Melissa Schneider. You want to just come up and say hi, tell everybody who doesn't know you. I know you. I think Matt.
I wasn't really expecting other than just to come here and kind of be up to date on what you guys are doing. My name is Melissa Schneider. I've been a resident of the village since 2016, and I served on the DDA board from March of 2017 to November of 2018, and then was not able to be reappointed because of, at the time, the village attorney's position on the nepotism clause. For the last 5 years, I've been assisting with the Heritage Festival, the Holiday Parade, and then also filling in with your previous director some of her job responsibilities when she went on medical leave a couple of times. I have a master's in public administration, and I am employed within the district. So my father-in-law, Steve. So I don't know if you guys have
Don't
any
forget park board.
questions. Oh, and I am on the park board, yes, as well.
And do you live in the district as well?
I do. I live
Sorry.
on Main Street. I believe it might be in the DDA district, actually.
You are.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
both sides
it
of the
is.
street are.
Yep.
Yeah. Any questions at all for Melissa? And again, to that point, as I mentioned before, the attorney has re-reviewed things and does not feel it's an nepotism clause. I still, again, in my thought process, I don't have a problem with you being here, but I think the treasurer role, if there is any chance of anything, I would say those are sitting the board who have family members on other boards probably should not be ever appointed a treasurer. And I think that's something where we should probably update the bylaws too. And as we talk through bylaws, let me just add some, and not even just for Angela's sake, but going forward, if this is going to be a full-time position, I think our bylaws should be updated to the fact that the DDA director should not also have employment within the DDA district. So that's another story, but just to throw that out there. Again, I just want to make sure we're transparent and above board with everything.
Yeah,
But yeah, we
absolutely.
definitely want you to be on the board and well.
How long has it been since you've been in the office? I'm not sure.
It's been
if you still work there.
I think I still have a job there at
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're not worried about that
Yeah.
because, per our bylaws, you're allowed to have multiple people that are employed volunteering to do this. It's the other way around. So, yeah.
Lifelong maternity leave.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. So if somebody could make a motion to have Melissa join the board.
I will make a motion to have Melissa join our board.
All right. Can we get a second?
I'll support that.
All right. Roll call. Yep. Holly?
Aye.
All right. Steve, you're abstaining, I hope.
Abstain.
Paul's an aye. Aye for Krista and aye for me. Welcome. Same thing. You're going to have to take the oath. It's got to go through council. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Letter F, historical walking tour signs and map.
Hold on.
Oh.
Before we move on, please. Do we want to note to move picking new secretary to our next meeting?
Yes, we're going to have to.
Okay. Let's do that. And then someone else stated this as well, and I kind of agree that maybe we should go to bi-monthly meetings because it's 9:30 and we still have a lot of important things to talk about. Would anyone be opposed to tabling the rest to another meeting and having another meeting in a week or two?
Well, this we have to go through tonight.
We have to.
Yeah, it's on our agenda. So
Okay.
the rest of this, hopefully we can blaze
That
through.
can be super quick.
Yeah.
All
And
important stuff in my opinion though.
right.
is.
It is,
That
but
needs to
we've
be
already
discussed.
put it on the agenda. We already approved the agenda, so we can't just
Okay.
move this to another one. So good try though. All right, let's go through historical walking tours.
So I don't know if, well, I'm sure you guys have noticed this, the historical signs on some of the buildings in town. When, well, a few business owners have expressed to me the interest to get one on their building because they do not currently have one, and asked how they get one, how they be added to the historical walking tour map. And so when I spoke with Nancy about how she originally worked that out, she worked with Fort County and the Historical Society, and they went to all the businesses, and those who wanted a sign, they purchased signs for them, and then they added them to the walking tour maps. And I would just like that to be explored, to be updated, see what the cost is for the signs, if it's something we would like to try to partner with Fort County and the Historical Society again to do, update the walking tour maps, etc. If that's something that we find
So you're just looking for,
benefit and interest, if anyone has any opinions on
so right
either.
now, you're looking for a motion for us to tell you
No
to
motion,
move
just-
forward?
Not even necessarily a motion. I
Just
just wanted to
discussion.
bring it, yeah, because I mean, if it's not something you would,
So
Want
I
me
would
to
love
look
to
into-
have a sign on my building for discussion. That would be great. I would love that. And I would be willing to pay for the expense of it too. I don't know how much it would cost, but it can't be that much money. Although it might be worth trying to get a grant or looking at DDA funds, because I'm sure lots of business owners might not be willing to spend the money, but it still might be of benefit to the community to have little plaques showing the history of some of the buildings.
And I would agree. I think, exploring it, seeing what the cost or what's involved with it, I think would be great for the community. I mean, we are in a historical community, so I don't see any problem with it.
Some of the ones that are up are very faded. Some look okay. If we're going to do new ones, it might be worth just doing all of them too. Then they match.
So, I mean, I think it's a discussion unless anybody really is opposed. I would say, yeah, definitely put that on your agenda.
This is unrelated, but a good time to bring it up. I had a customer come in who was a collector of antique prints, and he said, "Oh, your historical society museum is so cool. There's really cool stuff there, but it broke my heart seeing the stuff displayed in the window." He said, unless that glass has got a UV film on it, it might be damaging some of the colored items. So I know that we just got one of the windows replaced. It might be worth talking to them or someone else to get a quote for some sort of UV blocking film, if we don't have that already, to protect some of the old things that we have. I don't,
Same side of the street, that sun,
yeah, it
coming in the west in the afternoon. or
blazes
early
in at the
evening.
end of the day over
Ooh,
there. I bet.
So I guess
It's-
add that
It's
to,
blinding.
yeah,
So
add that
it's
to
bad.
talk to Jim Wade and find
I
out.
think if that film, if we don't have that, it might be worth a couple phone calls to see what it might cost or what it might take to get it. I think it's probably not a big expense and would be good insurance to protect the things that we have.
Sounds good. All right, let's move to the next one, trash cans. I can tell you the trash cans are well past useful.
And I don't think painting is going to help.
No, no.
not.
So
tired.
what in this discussion, I mean, my thoughts on that would be let's get some quotes and let's find out what it's going to take to get these things replaced. I know the DPW would love to have it replaced, right? I talked to some of the DPW workers, and they just said how horrible it is. There's no covers. The bags fill up with water every time it rains. They got to drain them everywhere. So yes, I mean, me personally, I say let's get quotes.
Also, I know that we had talked about grants for them, maybe, so that might be something to explore further.
Exciting trash can grants. Yeah, whatever it takes. Is there trash can grants out there? All right, find it. All right, so yeah, that's a go ahead. Clock painting. Clock is a dire need of a fresh coat of paint. We just had that clock resurfaced. I'm surprised they didn't bring that up at that time frame while they're out here. If you're fixing
Different
everything.
guys, painters and clockmakers, right?
I wonder if they're one and the same. I mean, if it needs a recoat of paint and with everything going on, we got new light poles. I mean, unless anybody thinks there's something wrong with it, I don't say why not. Let's find out and get a quote. We do have a list in the file, or it should be who actually did the clock update. Find out if they do it. If not, then we'll have to figure out who can paint that. Maybe it's the same. If it's not them, we do have them coming out to paint the historical building. Maybe they could do that at the same time. That contractor.
Related to that clock, I put $1,000 into it when they need money to purchase it and they need another grand. Okay, here you go. I happen to have the money at that point, so.
Well,
yeah.
that's good. Well, thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Are you the reason why it's only 5 o'clock somewhere every
Yeah,
time?
probably.
All right. Next one's a discussion, business surveys. Compiling a survey of business owners, DDA district may give us a more comprehensive view of what and where, when to discuss. Any discussion on that? I know I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I think that was a conversation that came up at that DDA symposium. I mean, it worked well for what we did with the park, with that board we did and getting feedback. I mean, again, we're spending taxpayer dollars. We're working for them. My 2 cents is let's find out what they want.
Yeah, why not? Sure.
But I don't have a problem with you working on that unless somebody else does. Let's see. New business welcome packet. Welcome packet is something to discuss for months in the process of creating it. Also created DDA business brochure to keep it. And we've seen it here. It's been passed around. Any comments on that? I think it looks good. I like it. I like the QR code, but anybody else have any thoughts?
Doing that when Boxy was the executive director. And I think there was some kind of basket we gave him when I first moved in. And so we want to just check with Nancy as far as what she did, but we had this program in place and then it got dropped. So,
Yeah.
but it's a good thing.
Yeah. And per that, if we do want to spend a little money on baskets, remember that's all marketing, advertising we're allowed to spend. So if there are things that we need to get printed or done or whatever, we can spend that. So if it's a nice little something that they might get from the DDA, let's spend a few dollars to make it happen. My 2 cents. But yeah, definitely. I like it. I love the packet. I think it's great. And the more information we can give, to me, it's a good thing. Anybody else? All right. Events. Let's see. There have been several event ideas I believe would bring patrons downtown and would like to get something on the calendar as soon as possible in case they consist of road crew closures, which would go through the village. Which events are we talking through?
So I had an idea for winter cornhole. However, I'm not sure. I think that one might be too late at this point.
Right? I love it. Could
Yeah.
we do it in February?
We could. I mean, we could do anything whenever. I was also talking to Christy a little bit about maybe seeing if Paul from Hideaway would want to do indoor too, but let me keep going. So that was just, a cornhole tournament. You would get free registration with a receipt from any DDA business, or else it would be, I don't know, we could decide on the amount. I had $10 a person. And if we could get businesses to offer, I don't know, special sales, whatever, we could advertise ahead of time. Make it like a downtown mini event. Have the fire out and stuff. But I mean, in my head, it would be closing East St. Clair to Bristol, from Van Dyke to Bristol. We could have it in a parking lot, obviously, but that would prohibit parking. So
This is a what? A winter
Cornhole.
event?
like tournament.
Okay. I like the idea. When were you thinking of standing that up? February, March?
Yeah, either end of February.
I think what would be beneficial, and this goes back to job description or expected, right, is as you're looking at doing things, as now the brainchild for doing the job is developing that calendar and saying, hey, I want to do something in February, but let's talk through that in December. So that way you have ample time to help make
Right.
it work, right? And don't feel
Well,
like
we
you
can move it to March too, if we want extra time.
Right.
I'm good with that.
And I was going to say, let's not feel, again, you're new in the role, right? Let's not feel we have to all of a sudden have an event. I like the idea, but let's see what works. And I want to make sure that we give us enough time to help you promote it to make it happen.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So February is right around the corner, right? So maybe let's target my 2 cents. Let's target something a little bit out so you have time to work through it.
And
again,
if you look in your packet, she has something literally for every month that she's planned already in
Right.
her head, obviously.
in her head.
So like, yes, love the cornhole. Let's table it, till next January. Let's put it on our schedule. Let's get ready for it.
Right.
Love February. Love March. Can we even get anything done by March at this point?
Right.
I mean, so my thought was let's maybe focus on your April downtown cleanup, which I think is super important anyways. That was kind of my thought in flipping through this real quick.
I think
'Cause-
anything we do, I mean, Heritage Fest is huge and we're already started that, but I think any other thing that we're working on, if it's less than 90 days, I say, don't even do it. All right.
I don't think
yeah.
we have the time with
No.
having a once a month meeting and
Correct.
to get it all done. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, moving forward, like, yes, let's keep all these ideas for next January, February, March. They're wonderful ideas, but I just don't think we can pull them off at this point. Not successfully anyways, and not without, killing ourselves or you. Either way.
I agree. So why don't we look at this and to your question on bi-monthly meetings, right? So not everything has to be done in an official meeting. We have the ability to do committees, right? So if there's stuff like this, I mean, look at this. This is all discussion items that we might need to work through. Instead of doing it in a meeting, maybe that's some, as a committee, we can get a couple of us together. That way we're not tying up the whole board for another night and talking through it. If people are open to that, maybe that might work as a little bit better flow. I know me committing to another night is going to be tough in that regard, but I might be able to do some sort of committee and meet at lunch or something. So that's just my 2 cents
So
on that.
would it be like a event committee or like what would, yes?
Yeah,
Am I
so
thinking that
we
right?
could call it an event committee, no different than we're doing the Heritage Fest
Right.
Volunteer Committee. We could just do an event committee, and that event committee can now go through and talk through all the planning of different items and what it's going to take to make it work and how long to do that, right? I mean, no different than ideas we've had about the Jeep ORV night. Let's do that in a committee, have all the details, bring it to the board so that way we know concisely instead of trying to work through it. And even this meeting or another open meeting, it gets a little like that.
Just want to, we'd run into a problem a few years back where certain board members were acting as a committee, not very legally, but never formally appointed. And we just set up a committee, actually have the board vote on it and appoint a particular member. So there's a record and it's official and the conduct is then.
Exactly. And we actually talked through that through Heritage Fest Committee too. We kind of voted on one last year, but that was very tense when we're doing. We brought it up tonight. We're going to re-look at that at our next meeting. And to that point, those committee meetings can be a little bit more often too. So, but yeah, no, we need to if we make it official, then we can have no problem meeting together, discussing it, making that happen. I mean, look, there's committees out there that talk about hiring and firing. There's committees out there that talk about promoting within and talking about job descriptions. So there's different things that committees can go on, but to do a committee that goes back to Main Street, are you a governing board or an active board? So if you want to be an active board, that means you're going to be more involved in committee stuff. If not, if you're governing, then we're just sitting here making decisions. So people got to think through that in their time commitment and what they're willing to do. So
That's my thought with the committee is how many people do actually have that are willing to do that.
I'm willing to do it. It's just, it
You're
depends.
not my question.
Okay. I say I'm willing to do it. It
I
just
don't-
depends on time.
And that's where I'm at.
So I
Always
think,
willing.
why don't we do this? It's been a long night. Let's talk about committees next meeting. We're going to discuss that next meeting. What committees you think we might need to explore? And that could be a committee to do events and a committee to determine the proper procedures in doing an annual review, what to strive for, what to do. So off the top of my head, that's the two top committees that I think we would need. All right. All right, after that, old business, this is more, I think, acknowledgement of what's going on with Holiday, right? Holiday, we did have a kickoff meeting today. A lot has already been started. There's still a lot to get done. We have booked the band for Friday night.
Stop.
This is just old.
Oh,
Holiday's
Holiday,
done.
never mind, sorry, wrong one. Go back to Holiday, my bad.
But yeah, done for this year, but you know, everything's
I think, go back to Holiday, sorry. I think it went pretty smooth with
Yeah.
everything.
yeah, it was good.
Melissa really stepped up.
Yep.
You like swooped out of nowhere and all of a sudden like started organizing
And then
things
disappeared.
in her white jacket. And I was like, where'd she come from? So, but I thought it was great. We had somebody volunteer and took some camera shots for us.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say for Heritage. He said he would
Do that again?
drone footage for Heritage too.
Okay. Largest one ever. We had, what was the total float count?
2,
32. Yep. It's already getting well publicized already for next year, which I think is awesome. Anybody else have any feedback from Holiday? It's the first event you put on after all the things. So
Angela and Melissa were great. People were coming up and they're like, where do we go for floats? I'm like, see her in the white coat? Go over there.
Honestly, that was like really smooth, and I was surprised that I done one a couple of years before. It was a great turnout. Angela did a fabulous job in whatever short period of time she had to get more businesses involved, and that was the biggest turnout that I've been a part of. So it was really nice to see.
Yeah, your help was greatly appreciated.
yeah, I would say I thought it went very smooth. Even we had a couple floats added at the last minute. I mean, for that event to be pulled off, for really the whole board really being new, I never worked one before, and you never worked one before. None of us never worked one before. So, to me, that's a testament to why I was comfortable giving you a job. So, I think you did a great job. But other than that, any public comments and non-agenda items?
For my safety.
Okay, so would you have it 5 minutes? Yeah. All 4 tires were flat. One came off the rim. No, that was in the first 5 minutes of us doing anything. She literally moved it 3 feet and it just died.
I can buy a couple at an auction.
Yeah. Start with tires, or at least put air in them. Thank you for that, Pete. Any other public comment, non-agenda items? Mr. Trent, thank you for being here. Anything you want to say from the village? No? You're good. Kim, thanks for coming out tonight. For the board, any final question, comments, anything anybody wants to say or do?
I do. I'm very excited to have Melissa and Trisha join us.
Same.
Yes.
We are too. We need the help. Thanks for everybody to stay going with this. It's been interesting for the last 6 months, but I think we have turned the corner. I think things are going to look good. Lots of changes in downtown, buildings changing hands, moving around. My building got sold. That'll be updated in the spring. So lots of good stuff. So on that, we're done at 9:44. Thank you all.